I've had the experience lately that whenever I meet someone who I haven't seen in a while, most of the conversation revolves around stories about my recent travels and where I've gone and where I've been, because I guess I never really ended up talking about it or making a video about it before. But for the past month, I have been backpacking around India. It was my first time to travel alone when I was in Japan a few months ago. So I went to India. I went there to meet a friend, and I ended up staying there for about a month. And I'm about to leave in a couple of days to go back there to finish the rest of my e-visa. I had to come back home because of a sort of a family emergency. So I'm going to go back to India to meet up with some other friends. But so over the past month, I lived in, so I flew into New Delhi, and then I met up with my friend who is from Mumbai. But we met up in Delhi, and then we went to Jaipur, which is, as many people know, I think it's even an Instagram filter. Jaipur is it's called the Pink City. So I went to Jaipur, and then I went down to Pushkar, then to Udaipur, then to Mount Abu, and then we ended up spending a bit of time a bit too much time, I think, in Pushkar. So it came to a point where my friend had to leave because he had to fly back home, fly back to New York for school. He was my old, he's a friend from school, so he had to go back to school. He went back down to Mumbai. I went up to Delhi, and then from then on, I traveled alone for 2 weeks. From Delhi, I went up to Rishikesh, where I went to the ashram where the Beatles. Yeah, I'm a big Beatles fan, so I wanted to go to Rishikesh because in 1968, that is where they went to have this kind of, I guess it was a TM, or Transcendental Meditation Retreat, with the Maharishi and all these other people. There are hundreds of people there, and if you go to Rishikesh today, you can enter the ashram. It's dilapidated, and it's not really perhaps as well maintained as you would have imagined or would have hoped it would be. But when you go there, it's really interesting, and it's very peaceful and calm and serene vibe up in the mountains with all these little meditation pods of sorts. It's very interesting. And I'm a big Beatles fan, so I had to go there as a bit of a personal pilgrimage for me, I guess, to see where they went in the 60s, because I guess for me personally, a lot of my childhood and a lot of my interest in music, interest in art, interest in many things stemmed from my fascination with the music of the Beatles. Unfortunately, I mean, not fortunately, I mean, maybe some people will go around and spout some things about whether the Beatles are overrated or whatever, but I feel like that is such an awful way to think about art. But anyway, yeah, I'm a big fan. You go into the ashram, the Beatles ashram, and then you have these giant murals. It's turned into a kind of art exhibition, essentially, of people making art around and painting and drawing and writing on the walls, all professing their love and passion and just joy for being able to, just be in the presence of the history of the place. It was very fascinating and very moving when I was there. There were people going around with the guitars playing music, and people from all over the world. I met so many people from all over the world coming there. And while I was in Rishikesh, which Rishikesh is supposed to be known as it's supposed to be known as the yoga capital of the world. So many people go there to take these meditation retreats or yoga retreats. Not retreats, but yoga programs. And I was couch surfing in Rishikesh, and I ended up actually inadvertently couch surfing at a yoga school, or more specifically, a yoga teacher training school. So it was a school that was there to teach people. If you kind of undertake their month-long program, at the end of it, you get a certificate, and now you can teach yoga around the world. And the guy who started the yoga school was also a couch surfing host. So I didn't know that at the time, but when I got there, it was very cool. He was very nice, and I got to meet all these people who were learning how to be yoga teachers from all over the world, and I had an amazing experience over there. I was in Rishikesh for a couple of days. Technically, I was at Tapovan, which is a bit on the outskirts of Rishikesh, not in the Rishikesh main city, but I don't know. I came into this video not really knowing exactly what to talk about, but I guess what I wanted to, I feel like I'm not even done with my trip yet, so I don't feel like I can really summarize things. But I thought it would be a very interesting contrast to go to Japan and go to India after, because in my preconceived notions of it, they are perhaps the two most diametrically opposed societies in Asia. Um, and they're such big cultural powerhouses. And India specifically interested me because of how many world religions started there. You know, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. Uh, you know, there's a lot of Islamic influence there, and Christians went to India. You know, there's so much. It's like there's just so much intermingling with different religions over there, and there are many new religions as well. When I was in Mount Abu, they have this thing called the Brahma Kumaris, and yoga. While it's not technically a religion, it's more of a philosophy of sorts. But it's kind of there are aspects to it that are quite like some people could, I think, interpret it as a form of religion as well, with the 8 limbs of yoga. But you know, so there are all these different ways of practice there that people seem to be very passionate about, and it's definitely, from all the places I've ever been to, it's the place where I feel that I've met it seems like the majority of the people who I was able to kind of have contact with and meet, it was a country with the most, I guess, belief in the system of faith that they practice. Because you see many people who practice a religion but not necessarily fully, invest and throw themselves into it. And really, Japan was interesting because there are many temples there, and Buddhism is sort of there, but it's kind of mostly an atheist country. Although you may not be able to see that online, I think from speaking to the people there, not many people have moved on from having strength in the belief of, the religious practices that were practiced for thousands of years, or hundreds of years over there. Well, thousands of years, I guess. But it's not as it's India. I mean, and I have to admit as well that maybe something else that would kind of factor into my perception of things while traveling around in India was that I was meeting people who were perhaps of a lower social class, maybe, and that may have something to do with their strength and belief in religion. Not that that's something that is necessarily kind of a direct correlate, but it's kind of a thing where if you the more educated people in certain countries, people with higher education seem to shy away from religion, or at least are more, they pick and choose more. But I don't know. These are all generalizations, and I feel like I'm speaking out of my ass. I don't really think what I'm saying is necessarily true. But Hinduism is very interesting. So when I was in Japan, I studied Buddhism, and then I studied Japanese history. I listened to these audio lectures, and then when I went to India, I did the same with Hinduism as well as with the history of India, kind of the general scope of it. And I feel, in my travels, and the people I meet, and the things I learn, and the places in the environments in which I immerse myself, I feel like I have been immensely just learning so much, and I feel like I've been so much a part of the world I've unfortunately maybe taken for granted over the past few years, because I was more in my little bubble of sorts and not really engaging with things that are out of my comfort zone, for example, and just seeing the variety of ways in which people practice their culture and just live, the extent to which people, not a lot, but many people in the general public who have this perception that philosophy is this kind of self-helpy thing of how to live a happy life. And at the end of the day, many people, no matter what faith of whatever your religion is or whatever your philosophy is, a lot of it boils down to the sense in which everyone kind of wants to just live a good life to some degree. Although you can argue that religion is more targeted towards living a better life after, but in general, people want to live a good life now. And when you see the ways in which people try to do that in different parts of the world, how people try to live a life filled with, I guess, a sense of well-being, it really helps put into perspective your own kind of sense of what you think normally necessitates how to live one's life gets questioned and challenged when you meet and experience things or meet people and see people who live in a way that is so diametrically opposed to yours, or your society, or your culture, your social class, or your education. So it's definitely been a learning experience for me, and I'm really enjoying it. And I don't want to make this video too long, but after Rishikesh, I went down to Agra with some friends I made in Rishikesh, and then I went to Varanasi, which is the holiest city in India, and I could probably make a whole video on Varanasi. It's such an interesting place, but Varanasi, and then I flew out of Kolkata. I was supposed to go to Bodh Gaya, but then I ran out of time because I spent too much time in Varanasi. I ended up getting flute, banshuri, Indian flute lessons. Inadvertently, I was walking into one of these stores, and it was like $3 for an hour of banshuri lessons. I ended up going twice, but I had to leave. And then I went, flew out of Kolkata. So, but anyway, so at the end of this week, I'm probably flying back to Delhi to meet up with some other friends who I met in Japan, and I really want to go up to Amritsar, which is where Sikhism is based. I think Guru Granth Sahib, the last prophet of sorts, the last leader of Sikhism, it's the last leader of Sikhism. Technically, it's their book. The book or something I think is held in Amritsar, but the Golden Temple is there, and I'm kind of interested in Sikhism, and I want to go up to there, inshallah, because that's where the Dalai Lama is, and I kind of want to see him. He gives talks every once in a while in his hometown, so not hometown, but in where he lives, there in Ganj. So I'm looking forward to that. That's what my next few weeks will look like, and yeah, I guess I don't know if I'll be able to make another video after this, but if I do, it'll probably be about Varanasi, or maybe about Thus Spoke Zarathustra, maybe. Fantastic book. I've been reading still. I'm reading the Upanishads right now, but anyway, that's all that's been going on with me.